Right now on 5 on your side at 10.
1 year ago today, a devastating tornado outbreak struck the bi-state. Defiance and Edwardsville hit by separate EF3 twisters, killing 7 people.
It's not something that we would expect to happen. You know, those are more of the April, May, June kind of thing.
The lessons learned that day in the Missouri community that's still trying to heal today.
Jacket weather for the rest of the weekend. Also, I'll time out our next chances for rain and wind.
But first tonight, the Respect for Marriage Act is a signature away from becoming law, which would protect same-sex and interracial marriages nationwide.
As a queer family, it's really important to us that we recognize that this is a big step forward legally.
The local LGBTQ+ community reacts to the historic legislation. Thanks for joining us tonight at 10. I'm Holden Kerwicki. Next week, President Biden is expected to sign legislation to protect marriages of same-sex and interracial couples. Tonight, 5 on your side's Elise Schoenig talked to local LGBTQ+ advocates about what the Respect for Marriage Act means for them.
Even with Biden's signature on Tuesday, countless members of the LGBTQ+ community say having this conversation yet again is exhausting.
We've had many highs and many lows with marriage equality.
Promo Missouri Executive Director Katie Erker Lynch says the Respect for Marriage Act is a step in the right direction.
As a personal, private individual who is engaged to another man currently, where some might be jubilant, it is still nevertheless a bit fatiguing.
Both 12th Ward Alderman Bill Stevens and Erker Lynch believe there's more work to be done.
With the Dobbs decision, it became very clear that Obergefell was not enough.
This new legislation protects same-sex and interracial marriage, even if the Supreme Court were to decide to revisit Obergefell versus Hodges.
We're one of the 35 states that does not have marriage equality in our Constitution, in our statutes.
But after Missouri quickly made abortions illegal after Roe versus Wade was overturned, the local LGBTQ+ community feared another overturn.
The state of Missouri's Constitution explicitly defines marriage as being between one man and one woman.
Most Republicans opposed the legislation, including Missouri Congresswoman Vicky Hartzler, whose own nephew came out to her this past February.
Today, a United States Congresswoman, my Aunt Vicky, started crying because gay people like me can get married.
I hope and pray that my colleagues will find the courage to join me in opposing this misguided and this dangerous bill.
Despite oppositions, Erker Lynch says being a queer family is something she will always value.
We've always celebrated our marriage. We've always celebrated our love.
These rights that some of us fight for, but that some of us are born with, exist only so long as we allow for them to exist.
Erker Lynch adds equitable legislation is a key point of Promo's mission, so they're already looking ahead at pre-filed bills surrounding human rights in Missouri for the 2023 session.
Elise, thanks. Right now, St. Louis police are investigating several deadly shootings since the start of the weekend. At least 6 people were shot and 4 victims have died from gun violence. The latest homicide happened inside a North City home. Officers responded to Romaine Place near Hamilton Avenue and located a male victim inside with multiple gunshot wounds. Right now, police have not identified the victim or released any suspect information. Today marks 1 year since a deadly tornado outbreak ripped through the bi-state. The first EF3 tornado touched down in Defiance, killing an 84-year-old woman. About an hour later, a second EF3 hit the Amazon warehouse in Edwardsville, killing 6 people inside. Today, 5 on your side visited Defiance, where some people are still getting back on their feet 1 year later. Many people told us that they'll never forget the tornado and the destruction it left behind. First responders say they are using the December tornado to make changes for the better.
I'm sure that's something that everybody's going to be talking about. Remember the tornado back in 2021. So, you know, we learned from it, and I think that's what's really important.
Following the tornado, local agencies came up with ideas on how they can improve their response, and that includes the different resources available in St. Charles County and making sure they utilize them. About an hour after the Defiance tornado, a second EF3 hit the Amazon warehouse in Edwardsville, killing 6 people. 1 year later, that facility is being rebuilt. Tonight, senior investigative reporter Paula Vassan asked lawmakers directly what's changed since then and is enough being done to keep workers safe.
The deadly tornado last December that struck an Amazon warehouse led to calls to action.
About half of the building is destroyed.
And promises for change. But 1 year later,
unfortunately, no.
Illinois lawmaker Katie Stewart says
enough hasn't changed. We're on the process and we're on the way to making those necessary changes, but we haven't gotten there yet.
She says warehouses in Illinois and Missouri can still be built without storm shelters, even when they lack basements. It's because local codes haven't changed to require them.
If you're not satisfied with the international building codes, are you ready to go above and beyond?
I'm ready to go above and beyond to put forth legislation that would require more. I want to require safer conditions for workers when tornadoes hit, because let's face it, where we live and the changing nature of our climate, we are going to see these storms get worse and happen more often.
Stewart believes progress will come from a bill she sponsored, House Bill 1563. It would create a task force of lawmakers on both sides of the aisle, structural engineers and climate change experts. Getting it off the ground has been slow.
I'm disappointed that the Senate didn't move more quickly.
Missouri Congresswoman Cori Bush is also pushing for action. 2 of the 6 people who died last year were from her district. Over the past year, she's been working with other lawmakers with the House Committee on Oversight and Reform. They've been pushing Amazon to reveal how it prioritizes worker safety.
So much more still needs to be done.
In light of last year's deaths, she spearheaded 2 pieces of legislation that could come up for a vote sometime next year. Her legislation would, in part, prevent workers from being fired for seeking safety during severe weather.
Is this an Amazon issue, or is this something bigger?
This is actually something bigger, which is why we have been working with labor groups and just activists, advocates around the country to see how we can make sure that workers are being safe and are being taken care of.
She wants companies like Amazon to raise their standards. Since the deadly tornado, Amazon has told us they're focusing on emergency drills and manager training. That's happening at its more than 800 facilities in North America. Right now, the Edwardsville warehouse, which the company leases, is being rebuilt without any structural changes. Amazon says its warehouses meet all building code requirements. For the I-Team, Paula Vassan, 5 on your side.
Today's weather much calmer than it was a year ago. Meteorologist Jim Castillo joining us now. And Jim, you were mentioning that strong system out west. It looks really impressive on radar, but is it actually going to affect us?
You know, it will, Holden, and what our current thinking is that severe weather will set up just to the south of us because of this huge storm that we're looking at in the west coast right now. Let's show you what's going on there. It covers the entire west coast. We'll zoom in to just that heavy moisture, lowland rain around the California area, which is much needed, and that mountain snow in the Sierra Nevada, now up to 6 feet expected above 5,000 feet. Now for us, rain and some of that heavy arrives on Tuesday. It's also going to be windy, but we do believe that that severe weather will set up to the south of us in Arkansas. Much more on that coming up in Maine weather. There is a dense fog advisory tonight, starts at midnight all the way through tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. 1/4 mile visibility or less, and that includes Jefferson County and Franklin County, south and west. So be aware of that. Another foggy night ahead.
The sports world in shock tonight. A prominent soccer journalist dies suddenly at the World Cup. What we're learning about the death of Grant Wahl. And it's the season of giving, and one local charity is making the holidays a little easier for some St. Louis families. How a shopping event is easing the burden for families of pediatric cancer patients. Tonight, the death of American journalist Grant Wahl is sending shockwaves through the sports world. He collapsed and died yesterday while covering the World Cup in Qatar. We wrote earlier this week that he had tested negative for COVID and visited a hospital for what he thought was bronchitis. So far, no cause of death has been released. Wahl was 49 years old. Today, the University of Idaho held its fall commencement, which featured a moment of silence to honor the 4 students murdered last month. The university president said the last few weeks have been tough and referred to the students as bright lights on campus. There is still no suspect identified for the murders. Police are cautioning people to stay vigilant. And the Artemis 1 Orion spacecraft is wrapping up a 25-day voyage around the moon. Tonight, the unmanned space capsule is closing in on Earth hours before splashdown off of the coast of Baja California. If all goes to plan, NASA will send 4 astronauts to fly the Artemis 2 mission, which could take off as soon as 2024.
Holding a dense fog advisory for part of the area southwest of St. Louis. Starts at midnight, goes till 9 a.m. So some more fog, cloud cover tonight, and low 30s. We'll talk about how much rain may fall and how much wind is coming on Tuesday.
With the need for blood donations at an all-time high, people in the bi-state are rolling up their sleeves. Today, KC95 partnered with Impact Life for their annual winter blood drive. More than 2,000 donors gave blood at 9 locations on Friday and Saturday. Organizers tell 5 on Your Side this donated blood supply will help during the holidays.
Numbers are down as far as donors being eligible to come out and donate, so that's why it is important to collect. Our demand stays constant, but unfortunately our rate of volunteer donations kind of goes ups and down and fluctuates with different illnesses and the time of year.
To schedule an appointment to make a blood donation, just look up for this story on KSTK.com. With Christmas a little more than 2 weeks away, several local kids in need will have a gift to open this year. Four Hands Brewery and Air-Cooled Antiques hosted a Stuff the Bus event to provide toys for children. People could donate a new unwrapped toy or give a $20 cash donation and receive a free pint. Organizers say they just wanted to bring some Christmas cheer to those in need.
We want to help out the community and bring positive stuff around here and spread some holiday cheer, and that's just something that was easy and we thought we could do and help a lot of people out.
The event also featured a lighted holiday parade around downtown St. Louis. Today, a St. Louis pediatric cancer charity spent the day making the holidays a little easier for some families. The Bennett Project hosted an in-person shopping event for dozens of families this afternoon. They gave out about 1,000 gifts to cancer patients they serve and their siblings. Organizers say this event helps take the burden of the holidays off their family's shoulders.
A pediatric cancer diagnosis usually reduces a family's income by about 40%, and so things like the holidays become optional, and we want to make sure that for these kids and their families who are fighting for everything, that that's not a problem for them.
The gifts handed out today were gathered during the Bennett Project's annual toy drive. Santa made an appearance at today's event, and there were plenty of activities for the kids. 5 on Your Side has teamed up with the Foster and Adoptive Care Coalition for the Little Wishes campaign. With less than 2 weeks to go, we still have more than 800 wishes to grant to area foster kids. Please go to KSTK.com/littlewishes to purchase a gift. The deadline is quickly approaching on December 20th. Switching gears now to weather, where it was a little misty out there throughout the day. When I drove in, to work earlier today, I came across the JB Bridge, and I mentioned I couldn't actually see into Missouri from Illinois. It was kind of weird, just almost surreal seeing how much fog was hanging over the river.
Yeah, this whole week has been like that, right? And we get this fog at night, and sure enough, some more forming tonight, Holden. So do be careful driving out there. This new dense fog advisory begins at midnight, Jefferson County, Franklin County, south and westward, all the way till 9 a.m. on Sunday morning. And it's going to be chilly too on top of that. We're at 40 right now. With a little bit of clearing, we did drop to 38 already, popped back up to 40, but we should go down to the low 30s for tonight. 86% on that relative humidity. And tonight, there it is, 34 even in St. Louis. Cloudy and foggy and light wind to calm wind out there. That's what we've been seeing this entire week. A trace of precip this morning, 45 for that high and 34 for the low. Not too far from those averages of 46 and 30. Satellite radar shot not showing much of that drizzle anymore, but there's still some spotty areas of drizzle within that fog too that will be forming. A lot of clouds, and look at this, the entire west coast is getting hammered, and they need the moisture with this drought that they're having out west. So lowland rain all the way from the Pacific Northwest, and of course in the mountains and the Cascades. Beautiful. There's a lot of snow, and Sharon and Doug sent this in tonight. Look at this, 2 feet of snow. That is actually a cluster of homes right there around Roslyn, Washington. So Ronald is what it's called. Beautiful spot. All right, so the upper level energy, that's that orange and red and yellow. It's spinning around the entire west coast, moves into the Midwest as we head into Tuesday. Jet stream is right overhead. So we are expecting not only wind and some of those gusts well over 35 miles an hour, but also some heavy rain at times. And then the severe weather setup at this point, we'll watch this, but it looks like it's just to the south of us, Arkansas, and into looks like Louisiana, maybe portions of Texas, and a chance of tornadoes down there. For us, it is cloud cover and rain at times, some of that heavy, and maybe some thunder in here, but it looks like most of the thunderstorm activity will stay to the south. So how much rainfall are we expecting? And we'll clear up and get colder by the end of the week. But we could see over an inch, you can see here, and we need it because we are also very dry. 10-day forecast showing temperatures at 46 tomorrow. Dry Sunday, a lot of cloud cover, limited sunshine. Monday 50, 56 Tuesday, but rain and wind. And then we're in the 30s by next weekend, but at this point it does look dry next weekend.
And Jim, with some of the weather lately, I'm sure a lot of people at home have been like me, staying in, watching a lot of sports.
Absolutely.
And it's a good thing we got Corey here to tell us what's going on.
Today was the day for it. You could have sat on the couch from about 11 a.m. this morning to around 9 tonight and watched 3 of our regional college hoops teams almost play back to back to back. You would have been upset at all of them. We'll look at the tough day on the court next in sports. I think hoops fans in our region would take today's schedule just about every day of the season. Wake up and you've got Illini for breakfast, then stick around for a late lunch with the Border War at Mizzou, and finally SLU for a nightcap. Sounds nice in theory, but then the teams actually had to play. SLU hosted Boise State tonight, trying to get back on track after that bad loss to Iona last time out. Yuri Collins had a nice night offensively. He had a team-high 17 points, including those 2 right there. It was a close game throughout, but the Broncos were able to hit more shots at the end, and the Bills couldn't get anything going in their last few chances. Boise State wins 57-52. SLU is now 7-4 on the season.
It's unfortunate, but give them credit. They just made a few more shots. When a game comes down to who's going to make a few shots, because it was a grinded-out game, you look at the score, the whole game. I told us after that that's going to be who makes some shots, period.
Down the road to Columbia we go. First time Kansas has visited since 2012. The crowd went from that to this. Here was Mizzou's big highlight of the day. A nice alley-oop finish from freshman Aiden Shaw. But the Jayhawks are the defending champs for a reason. They would take their big lead and continue to pour it on in the second half. Isaiah Mosley sat and watched for the Tigers again as Kansas comes in and wallops previously undefeated Mizzou 95-67.
There's a reason why Kansas is top 10 in the country. There's a reason why Bill Self is a Hall of Fame coach. I thought we showed and displayed different things throughout the game where we almost had runs going, but somehow, some way, whether a missed free throw or a turnover, it sort of took the wind out of the sail.
Things were not any better for Illinois today hosting Penn State. The Nittany Lions came in and handled the Illini thanks to Andrew Funk and Jalen Pickett. Penn State knocks off Illinois at home 74-59. It's Illinois' first loss to the Nittany Lions in 3 years. High school time, Whitfield and CBC for the Webster Groves Holiday Tournament Championship. There's Nasir Binion with the fadeaway J. Remember that name for later on. Whitfield was on fire from deep in this game. Caden Anderson gets that shot to fall from the corner. Lets everybody know about it. And I told you to remember Binion because here he comes again with a nice finish. He's the MVP of the game, and CBC wins the Webster Tourney title 71-62 over Whitfield. So far this Blues season hasn't provided a lot of wins, but it has given us a number of fired up sound bites from this guy, Craig Berube. And I suspect that will continue to be the case until his team turns it around. The Blues have won just 3 of their last 10 games and have another test with defending champs Colorado coming to town for a matinee tomorrow. We know Coach can yell with the best of them, but the kids in the crowd for practice today were spared from the full Berube yelling experience.
You yell less when there's little kids around watching.
No, I really didn't think of that.
It doesn't affect you at all.
I wasn't. Did I yell more yesterday?
I think
yes.
So.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, hey, it's a new day.
Best game of the year every year, Army-Navy. In the 123-year history of the rivalry, they've never gone to overtime. They did today. After trading touchdowns, Navy fumbles on the goal line, and then Army marches down to kick a game-winning field goal in double overtime to win 20-17. That game always delivers. I try to watch every year. And a lot more exciting than Mizzou, Kansas was when we saw, pretty much knew what the final was going to be about 5 minutes into the game.
You know, I woke up to the Illinois game, woke up with a headache. It didn't get any better when I saw the score.
That's true. You should have just gone back to bed.
You know, I'm actually blaming the weather. Jim, what's it going to be like tomorrow? I don't need another headache.
We always get blamed for everything. That's okay. I get it. I went to Mizzou, so it was very another.
We don't need to talk about it. It's over.
Yeah, I know. Hey, so fog tomorrow morning in spots, cloudy to start, and then a little bit of sunshine, about 46, but it's dry Sunday and Monday.
All right, Jim, thank you. Yeah. That's all of our time for 5 on Your Side at 10. Saturday Night Live is next. Join us for Today in St. Louis tomorrow, starting at 6 a.m. Have a good night.